episode 3 of Obi-Wan Kenobi. By the time you guys are watching this, it will have come out yesterday. And we are now halfway through this Obi-Wan Kenobi limited series on Disney Plus. It's going to be 6 episodes in total. This was episode 3. Why is my focus doing that? And yeah, let's hold on. Let's turn off autofocus. Okay, hopefully that fixes it. So we're halfway through this limited series, and I have to say, I think this was my favorite episode so far. A lot of stuff happened in this episode, so I'm going to get right into my notes. I just basically, as I'm watching the show, I just write a series of notes in my notes app. Just what I'm thinking as I'm watching, what I want to talk about. Opening this episode with Vader in the tank, and you get to see his skin and like his missing limbs, and then you get to slowly watch his suit get assembled on his disfigured body. And I thought that was a really nice touch, seeing like his burned skin and just how just like crippled and deformed he looks, and it gives you a really good sense of what is beneath the suit and like how little there really is left of Anakin Skywalker. And I think that really drives home the point of his anger and his rage, because in the books and the comments they basically make a point. In the books and the comments, the books and the comics, they basically make a point of the fact that he is in constant amounts of pain, like high levels of pain constantly, and that fuels his anger and rage and dark side, just constantly growing and getting stronger based on how much pain and suffering he's going through. And then also the fact that Palpatine purposefully built his suit to limit him physically and to what am I trying to say? To limit him physically and to prevent him from becoming too powerful. It's just a very interesting look at all that, and I think this is the best look we've gotten at Vader under the suit. I don't think the Revenge of the Sith suit assembly scene was as complete as this. Also, we see Vader's castle, which is now canon, his castle on Mustafar. That's a thing from the Legends EU. Certain books and comics had Vader of a castle on Mustafar, and it appeared here, and the look was like identical to how it appeared in those series. So as somebody, like me, that's read a lot of Legends materials and Star Wars books and comics, it was really cool to see that in the show. Okay, also, James Earl Jones back voicing the character. We pretty much figured that he would be, because he did in Rogue One, But it was interesting is that I actually thought James Earl Jones sounded better in this compared to Rogue One, which came out a few years ago. He's 91 now, 91 years old, and in Rogue One I thought his voice sounded a little bit weak. You definitely noticed more age in his voice, a little bit less vibrato and depth, but in this he sounded better than he did when he was slightly younger, so I don't know if they did some processing or effects work on his voice or something, but he sounded amazing in this. James Earl Jones just has this very imposing, almost supernatural voice that I love. I also really liked this scene where Obi-Wan and Leia, they were on this planet, I can't remember the name, but another desert planet, and they're supposed to be meeting somebody. And actually, interesting part about that, they're supposed to be meeting somebody, and Obi-Wan has this vision or this hallucination where you see Anakin Skywalker, Hayden Christensen, like in robes, standing there waiting for them, because Obi-Wan now knows he's alive and he thinks it might be a trap. Because you realize that Obi-Wan does not know what he turned into. He does not know that Darth Vader, this monster, exists. When he hears Anakin Skywalker is still alive, he's picturing the man he fought on Mustafar, the apprentice that he raised and taught and all that. He has no idea what's waiting for him later in the episode. Okay. But back to that planet, I really liked the character of Freck. Freck was like this mole-looking character. Very interesting character design, and I actually do believe that was a practical mask or head that they had the actor wearing. It looked practical to me, the Freck character, and if so, that's an absolutely amazing practical mask. I know they did a practical head for Cad Bane in Book of Boba Fett, so the technology on those masks now is just insane, like way better than where they've been in the past. But the reason I liked that Freck character is because I think it kind of illustrated a sort of character that we haven't really seen before in the Star Wars universe, which is just like the normal person trying to get by and like make a living and have a life for themselves while all this craziness is going on, like Republic, Empire, whatever. Like, he needs to make a living, make money, do his thing, just be like a normal person. And it kind of makes me think of this, like, I don't know if I want to call it a documentary, but this little video essay I saw about like what normal civilians do during wartime, and like even when countries are like being occupied or whatever by invading forces, there's still people going to work every day, running a business, going out shopping, eating at restaurants. And it's like, life still has to go on to a certain degree, and I thought that Freck was a really kind of interesting look into that sort of person and that sort of thing that hasn't been explored too much in the Star Wars universe, at least. Then Obi-Wan, I loved the interaction with the stormtroopers and how he tries to defuse the situation, but then he's no longer able to, and he gets into this blaster fight with them, and he cuts a dude in half with a laser fence. So that was rad. and it showed that there's this continued reluctance for Obi-Wan to not use his lightsaber. So when he does end up using his lightsaber later in this episode, it had all the more impact. So he meets up with this woman who's dressed as an Empire officer, general, I think it's officer. And she's like, shows him this secret tunnel passageway thing that they're gonna leave through. But as they're getting ready to leave, Obi-Wan kind of has this moment where he's like sensing something, and you can tell, like, sorry for the peek, like everyone is kind of on edge, and there's kind of this like rumbling, and then Darth Vader appears. And say what you want about Star Wars since being owned by Disney, but one thing Disney has absolutely nailed is how they depict Darth Vader. He is like this force of nature. It's like an unstoppable force of evil, like a tsunami or a hurricane, and he just rolls into town. And even the Inquisitors are like scared of him and being deferent towards him. They like have their head down. When he's walking, nobody else is walking. And just like, oh, yeah, and like he's like pulling people out of their houses. He snaps a child's neck with a force choke. Just child. We just saw Darth Vader kill a child. He's like dragging a woman down the street, like using the force. Just the way that they have Darth Vader in Disney properties is really, really good. I've always loved the way they treat the character of Darth Vader. And then Obi-Wan is like, alright, I'll lead them away. You guys get out of here. So Leia and the woman, I can't remember her name, go through the tunnels. And Obi-Wan steps out and he's leading Vader away. And they're in the desert, Obi-Wan and Vader face to face. You see Vader's lightsaber ignites, you see the red. Obi-Wan is running away because, again, we haven't really seen him use his lightsaber yet. He hasn't trained in years. He has severed that connection to the Force. And then finally, like, Vader's like, you can't hide, Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan ignites his lightsaber finally. And when he does, with the lightsabers in this show, especially when we have two of them on screen in the darkness, we're again illustrating that point that I talked about with the first two episodes. And that is the importance of having a physical light-producing lightsaber prop and the dynamic, like the dynamism it brings to these scenes. Having an actual light-emitting prop on set, seeing how it plays off of the sand, off of the actors' faces, the hot spots, the illumination. There's a point where Vader's like in a cloud of like mist, smoke, and his lightsaber's ignited, and you just see this red glow in the smoke. You don't get that sort of things if you do a purely CGI blade. You have to do a combination of both. And I'm really glad that Disney has committed to using both because it looks so much better on screen. They fight a little bit, Vader and Obi-Wan, a little bit of a lightsaber fight. And I loved the contrast. You have Obi-Wan, older, weaker. He's not been training. His experience is, it's not there. And he's on the back foot the whole fight. He's retreating. He's just kind of trying to hold Vader at bay, and he's not really using the Force to bolster his physical abilities, to bolster his lightsaber abilities. Whereas you have Vader, who's this big, imposing, physically strong and dominating force. Big, powerful strikes, swings, chopping at Obi-Wan, trying to just tear him apart with every swing. really good contrast. And the movement of Darth Vader. The movement of Darth Vader physically, the way he walks, the way his body moves, the limitations. He's very stiff. You know, his arm is almost perfectly he's not like spinning and twisting. It's just big, solid chopping, and the way he's walking and standing is very stiff and upright because he's in so much pain. His mobility is so limited, but he is still very physically strong and imposing. And I loved the movement of that and how strong Vader is. Nailed it. And then he gets Obi-Wan, and I've seen some criticism of this moment. I, for the most part, am a type of person who will let little things go for the sake of the plot. And it's not too egregious for me, but he lights this big fire, and then he's dragging Obi-Wan through the fire, and he's basically like going to torture him because of what Obi-Wan did to Vader, which, if you know, Vader has just been sitting there for like a decade, stewing and thinking like, okay, when I see Obi-Wan Kenobi again, this is what I'm gonna do. And he's been planning out all these things he wants to do and how he wants to hurt him and get revenge and pay back for what happened to him. He doesn't just want to quickly kill him. He wants to hunt him down and ruin him. And dragging him through the fire, you see Obi-Wan has these burns all over his body now. And then Vader's basically like, bring him to me, Obi-Wan. The woman from earlier saves his life by shooting this exploding thing, makes the fire bigger. And then Vader just kind of stares as they drag Obi-Wan away to safety. And then at the very end, Leia gets kidnapped by the third sister. So, like I said, there has been some complaints about that bit at the end. Vader letting Obi-Wan just get taken away. I think it's a couple things. I don't totally hate it. I get what they're saying, but I also think Vader wants Obi-Wan to suffer like he did, so he doesn't want to just quickly kill him. He's like, okay, you're all burned up now. I'll let you leave. I'll let you heal up to the best that you can, and then when you inevitably come back, I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to make it worse and worse and worse. That might be what he's thinking, because he has all this anger and hatred and rage. But again, to me that's a little bit of a nitpicky point. It's whatever for me. Also, there was a Quinlan Voss name drop in this episode. If we see Quinlan Voss in this series, I'm gonna lose my mind. Like I said, this was my favorite episode so far of the 3 that have been released. I honestly expect it's only gonna get better. What do I think is gonna happen? So at this point, my predictions, I think that the third sister is going to reveal to Leia that she was one of the younglings in that opening sequence in the first episode when Order 66 happened, and that she blames Obi-Wan Kenobi for not saving her or something. I think she has some connection. She feels like Obi-Wan Kenobi abandoned her, allowed her to get captured by the Sith and tortured, and turned into an Inquisitor. That's my prediction for what's going to happen with the third sister. I think she's going to reveal that probably in the next episode, that's her backstory. I think there's a point in this episode where Obi-Wan was trying to reach out to the Force ghost of Qui-Gon Jinn, and I think that's probably going to happen. I think in the next episode we're going to focus on Obi-Wan getting better, recovering, and then I think he's going to connect with the Force ghost of Qui-Gon Jinn and start training and rekindling his connection to the Force and getting as strong as he used to be in the prequel movies, namely Episode 3, when he's at the height of his power and abilities. And I think Qui-Gon is going to help get him to that point. He might even see Yoda, but probably not. I don't think Yoda's going to make an appearance in this series. I think the next episode's going to mainly focus on Leia and the third sister and interactions between them, and I think we're going to see a lot of the third sister's backstory, how she became an Inquisitor. I think we're probably going to see her being a young girl, maybe around the same age as Leia is, and we're going to see scenes of her being tortured as a child, and I think for that reason we might even see her take pity on Leia and not give her directly over to the Empire. She might even hide Leia or something. Again, this is just a prediction, but I think the third sister might hide and even protect Leia and lie and say she didn't find her or something. And we're going to see this backstory of her and how she became an Inquisitor, and I think it's because she used to be a Jedi or a Force-sensitive youngling or something. And yeah, then like I said, Obi-Wan, I think we're going to see Qui-Gon. I bet we get an appearance from Liam Neeson here. Probably no Yoda, but that's my predictions for episodes 4 and 5, some combination. Then I imagine episode 5, 6 is going to be Obi-Wan coming back at full power, reconnected to the Force, and I think he's going to kill all the Inquisitors and save Leia. Probably have a rematch with Vader where he subdues Vader, defeats him in some way that obviously isn't permanent, gets Leia back, leaves, goes back to Tatooine. My prediction for how this series is gonna go. I think episode 1 was a 7.2, episode 2 was an 8.1, and this episode 3, was an 8.7. I've really been enjoying this series so far, and I can't wait until next week's episode to see what happens, and I'm going to make a video about it as well, so I'll give you guys my thoughts on next week's episode next week. So thank you guys so much for watching. I know I just did a movie review yesterday, and then we have another TV show review coming out today, so gonna mix it up. Tomorrow it's GeoGuessr. I don't think I have any viewer suggestions for that, so I'm just gonna pick a map for GeoGuessr. So Red Dead, I'll talk about this in GeoGuessr, but my streaming, my capture card is messed up. It's not working with Red Dead. That's why I kept having weird audio issues. So I need to figure out what I'm gonna do with that, but I'll probably have some gameplay up the day after GeoGuessr, so if you guys like this video, please leave a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought of episode 3 of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this every single day. Until next time, guys, bye-bye.